I've been parked behind a scraggly thimbleberry bush for the last 6 hours with my camera pointed at a tree. And when I say parked, I'm not talking about the marginal comfort of my beater Honda. No, I'm talking about my butt planted on a clump of grass that looked soft-ish when I showed up for this stakeout at dawn, but that now feels more like a pile of rocks. You having a hard time putting that information together? I mean, camera plus stakeout might give you the idea that I'm a private investigator, right? Or a paparazzo. Or maybe a peeping Tom. And you'd be sorta right for 2 out of 3. Okay, maybe 3 out of 3, but I wasn't intentionally peeping, depending on where in my personal timeline you landed. Because I wasn't a paparazzo per se. I didn't stalk celebutantes or pop stars or actors with personal restraint issues. No fewer than 3 tabloids had me on their starred contributor list because I was Matt Steinitz, the most successful cryptid photographer in the world. Okay, in America. Well, in the Pacific Northwest. Fine, in Oregon, okay? West of the Cascades, anyway. But it wasn't my modest success in cryptid photography that got me my current gig with Quest Investigations. No, it was being mistaken for a guy who was a real success, not to mention a real douchebag, and the only thing that saved me from some kind of arcane punishment was the fact his photographs were crap. Did you catch that part about Quest Investigations? So, yeah, I'm working for private investigators, but I'm not an investigator myself. I'm their surveillance guy, which makes me a professional peeping Tom. And it'd be sleazy if it wasn't so goddamn boring. Like now, because I was staking out a tree. And not even an interesting tree. I mean, a pink flowering dogwood in the spring, I could happily stare at one of those all day long. A Doug fir in winter with the wind tossing its branches and maybe a little snow spangling its needles. Sign me up. But my target today, in mid-September, when everything is tired, hot, and dusty, was a specimen of Ailanthus altissima, aka the Tree of Heaven. And that was about as big an oxymoron as jumbo shrimp or business intelligence. Yet, here I was, on the one hand wishing my coffee thermos wasn't empty, and on the other hand, or maybe the same one, wishing I hadn't drunk all of it because now I needed to offload some of that, if you catch my drift, and I didn't want to, well, piss where I sat. But if I ducked behind the nearest interesting tree for a little relief, who'd keep the camera pointed at the lousy Tree of Heaven? Next time, I muttered as I shifted uncomfortably, I'm bringing a tripod. You'd be forgiven for asking why I'm putting myself through this, other than, a paycheck, which is a completely fair question. Here's the deal. Apparently, some dryad outraged her clan by cheating. And we're not talking about a clandestine hookup at a cheap motel near the airport, or even a high-class liaison at an upscale B&B out on the coast. Nope. According to her clan chief, a guy who, since he's a dryad, probably has a literal stick up his ass, she's allegedly cheating on her tree. Did you know anyone could cheat on a tree? Yeah, me neither. Especially since dryads aren't exactly... Is there a word for cleaving solely to one particular tree? Trimonogamous? Arborealegent? Dryads can merge with any tree whose trunk circumference is bigger than their waist, but Stick-Up-His-Ass was in a major state about this one. It's an invasive species,